Hey guys, welcome to the Top 5 Sports Podcast, and I'm your host, Chike. Today I have my guest, CY, in the building. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. You know, a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of stuff to talk about, so looking forward to this episode.
I know, man. There's a lot of free agency frenzy going on out there. A lot of trades have happened so far. And a particular one that stands out is I think it's the Kevin Durant request that just happened, but that's another conversation for another day. What free agency trade has stood out to you so far?
I would say for sure out of all the completed trades, I would say for sure Rudy Gobert. Just considering the draft capital that was part of the trade, I think they traded 4 first-round picks and then the pick swaps as well as Patrick Beverly, Vanderbilt. I actually like him. I think that's his. I think his ceiling is like a modern day Dennis Rodman. So
Yeah,
I think that was a little bit of a loss for Minnesota there. But getting Rudy Gobert, I think Rudy Gobert is a winning player. I think he has a lot of impact. And I'm not sure how it works with Karl Anthony Towns, considering the fact that they're both bigs. You know, I know Towns can shoot the three, but today everybody's going small, so it's kind of counterproductive to have 2 7-footers on the floor. But you know, we'll see how it plays out.
What did you say? That's a very good point, because I didn't understand the trade. First of all, when it happened, I was a little bit shocked. I wanted to know why the Timberwolves would go for a guy like Rudy Gobert, right? And then I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Like, what's the added value in that, you know?
I get where you're coming from, man, because especially today, you know, look at the NBA Finals, for example. Both the Warriors and the Boston Celtics, nobody had a 7-footer on the floor at any point during the finals. So the league is kind of changing from that aspect. But we have to think of it this way, though. You know, last season, Milwaukee won the championship. They had Brook Lopez. They had Giannis. I mean, Giannis says he's 6'11", but Giannis is a 7-footer.
Right, but Giannis I think Giannis is kind of like a unique specimen in this conversation.
You know what I mean? So
to actually
maybe
put him in that.
to go with the Milwaukee build. You know,
Right,
that's
right. Which I don't think that's gonna happen. But
hey,
anyways,
they're gonna finish top 6 for sure. Minnesota
top 6, yeah, I can see that.
Gobert's a winning player. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Decent trade that happened. I think I like that trade. So today's conversation is going to be on the top 5 small forwards in the last 2 decades, and what we mean by that is the top 5 small forwards since the 2000s. Right? There's been a lot of great, amazing players. One in particular, LeBron James, which I feel we're both gonna kind of shake early hands on with that. But there's been a lot of great small forwards in the last 2 decades, and these guys have kind of shaped the way the NBA is today. They have brought a lot of contributions to the league, and this should be a very interesting conversation. Do you want to start off, or you want me to just jump right off it? Because I know from the get-go this is going to be a great conversation, but we're not going to agree. That's what I feel.
You're bracing yourself for impact, but yeah, for sure. I think as far as the small forwards are concerned, yeah, man. The NBA, if you look at all the championship teams, wings, you know, you always have to have that elite 2-way wing. You know, for the most part. I'm not going to say every team has them, but for the most part, traditionally, that's how it goes on. So, you know,
right.
Talking about from the 2000s, like we were talking before, you know, I want to make sure we're pointing out that we're not forgetting the Scottie Pippins and the Julius Ervings.
Right.
They would definitely have been on the list. So, you know, it's from the 2000s. So I just thought we should point that out so people are not like,
yeah, for sure. We're not trying to kick the OGs out, but we're actually just kind of putting it within a time frame to just kind of get the conversation going. So Scottie Pippen, no hate here. We know you're one of the greatest to do it. So but I could definitely go ahead and start. for me at number five is Carmelo Anthony. I think that is a special breed of a player. Um, just a quick background here: Carmelo Anthony currently with the Lakers, technically a free agent right now. He was drafted by the Denver Nuggets as the third overall pick in the 2003 NBA draft. Spent about 8 years with the Nuggets and then moved to the New York Knicks in 2011, where he became a cult hero and kind of like a fan favorite for about 6 years. And then after that, he lost his footing in the NBA and bounced around the league to play for the likes of Oklahoma City Thunder with Russell Westbrook. And then he moved on over to the Houston Rockets and then to the Portland Trailblazers and now ending up with the LA Lakers. He's a 10-time NBA All-Star, NBA scoring champion in 2013, and an NCAA champion. For me, ever since he came into the league, something I noticed is that he averaged 20 points per game, or at least 20 points per game before leaving the New York Knicks. The best he's done so far is the conference finals in 2009, where they're eliminated by the Lakers, who went on to win the NBA championship with Kobe Bryant, RIP. But there's not a lot of accolades with this guy, right? He's around the league, he's one of the hardest guys to guard. Um, there's been a lot of question marks around trying to get a team over the hump or get his team to a championship. And I have him as number five because it's not necessarily anything that has to do with his championship, but just skill wise, right? Carmelo is one of the hardest guys to guard in the league, right? One on one. This was someone when he got drafted was talked about in the same level as LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, even Kobe Bryant at some point, right? And I think the falling off the cliff, I would say, that happened to him was right off when he left New York, or even going to New York, because New York is a very attractive market, right? That's a place players want to go and kind of establish themselves. But nothing great has come from New York. Nothing great has come from New York.
Yo,
I'm sorry, I'm just saying it,
that's
but like
harsh, man.
it's true, but it's the truth. Like think about it, CY. Like neither the Brooklyn Nets or the Knicks anything has come. The best team in New York for the last 2 decades has been the Giants, right? The New York Giants. That's an American football team. So him going over to the Knicks, I think that was there was a lot of promises to that, but it never really became the idea that he imagined. Like it never really became a super team. There was nothing. There was moments right there, but I just felt like after New York, that was it. He was just hopping around the league, just basically what I call championship hopping, like trying to go from team to team to team, trying to say, hey, where's the best fit for me to become a champion? Because at this point, he already made all the money that he wanted in his contract in New York. But then it's like, it's not about money anymore. It's about the chip, right? So Carmelo Anthony at number five, I think, regardless of what's said out there, I think he's hands down one of the best pound for pound scorers the NBA has ever seen. So for me, number five, Carmelo Anthony. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't uh, disagree with your points on Carmelo. I think one thing that's important to point out is that considering the fact that the league changed right underneath Carmelo Anthony, players that really suffer from this change, Melo, Russ, um, the isolation basketball kind of got taken away. So everybody's a lot of perimeter shooting, a lot of moving the ball, passing the ball, driving to the paint, kicking, whatever the case might be. So the shift is affecting these guys because they're used to scoring in isolation, especially Melo, because Melo was really in
Yeah.
the mid range. And the mid range is kind of, even though it's people kind of say it's eradicated, but when you get to the finals, you see the people that win the championships, they do shoot those mid ranges. So I think the league kind of has that one messed up. But that's what happened to Melo, unfortunately. And Melo has never been, known as a great defender. So playing on the three, having to cover up for your wing. It's a little bit challenging now, and now that he's advancing his age. But I like Melo, man. I love Melo. He's elite, multi-level scorer. Uh, it's unfortunate that he didn't get to win that chip, but you never know, man.
Hey,
He might come
it's never too
else.
late, right? Like, he might pull a Dwight Howard and just jump on a winning team. There are actually talks about the Warriors
Melo's
trying to
the
get him,
Warriors.
but I don't think that might happen. If that happens, that's a plus, and hey, he might just get that chip he was looking for. So
He's coming to. What did you say he's going to?
he might. There's talks about the Warriors trying to
Oh,
trade for him. Yeah.
hey,
So
man. I mean,
um,
right now because he's like you said, he's a free agent, so we could probably get him for the
yeah,
veterans minimum.
veteran minimum. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I would love to see Melo on the Warriors. Why not? Let's make it happen.
Of course you would.
Let's make it
Of
happen.
course you would.
Yeah. So okay. So I mean, I like your number five. Let's see. For me, for number five, I'm gonna go with Paul Pierce, man. I'm gonna go with Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce.
Wow.
Paul Pierce. The truth, the truth is actually another pretty elite scorer. A 3 point contest. I think he won the 3 point contest, if I'm not mistaken, or he competed in a three
Yeah.
point contest, and he did pretty well. But I feel like he did win. The champion in '08, a Finals MVP, 10-time All Star, 4-time All NBA. He was part of the NBA '75 team. So a true NBA legend. And we forgot to mention Melo was also part of that '75 team. But
Yep.
Paul Pierce, was somebody that he essentially was put in a position where he came into the Boston Celtics, meeting a history of legends. We're talking Russell, Bird, all these guys, and he came there and um, quickly found out that it was going to be a challenging journey, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Paul Pierce, he he didn't get the team like the superstar team until the latter part of his career. When KG and Ray Allen, Rondo, and Big Perk and all them boys teamed up, and they were able to win the chip. And I think why I have Paul Pierce in number five is because as an individual talent, uh, I don't think his talent exceeds the people that I have ahead of him. All right. So I think, as a scorer, he's pretty good. He can shoot the three. But his individual impact or individual ability does not exceed the guys. Of course, when we're talking about the top five, we're talking about the best of the best. So we're kind of nitpicking at this point. But uh,
Yeah.
for the people that have ahead of him, I would say Paul Pierce's ability doesn't quite get there. Played on the Celtics, played a little bit on the Wizards, and then to the Clippers. With the whole Draymond Green. You think you're Kobe, but moment. But
You
Paul
ain't
Paul
getting a
is Paul is
tour.
good in my book. Man. I like Paul Pierce. He's a top level player and definitely my number five on my small forward list.
That's a very um I don't have any controversies with that. That is suitable for that position, being number five. And the reason why I say that is because jump into my number four, I have him. Paul Pierce is my number four. And four and five, I mean, you could kind of switch them
Yeah,
up. There's really
I think
that
we
gap
flip
is not
flopped on
really
that.
exactly. So yeah. So, but I mean, like you said, I think you pointed something really important, skill wise. As an individual player, like Paul Pierce he's great, all the accolades. He's an former NBA player. Just to go through a couple of the accolades, Hall of Famer. Was drafted by the Celtics in 1999. Kind of it became a household name. Played for the Celtics for 15 years. Then went on to the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizards, and obviously the Clippers. He retired in 2017. During his time with the Celtics, he was an NBA champion and NBA Finals MVP in 2008. He's also a 10-time NBA All Star. Now, to come back to the point where you made about the individual talent, I think that's where the struggle was. Like, Paul Pierce wasn't someone who averaged over like 20. like I think his max in a season was about 26 or 25, and that's just one season. He would just give you a regular 21, 20, 21. And over his career, he averaged 19.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 3.5 assists in his career. Now, many people would look at it as that those are low numbers for like a great player, right? But you have to watch Paul Pierce play to appreciate what he's done. But then going back to your point, compared to the list, I wouldn't really put him up there, right? I wouldn't really rank him as, the greatest, right? But he's there. Like he deserves to be there, right? And
Absolutely.
something that I wanted to point out about him is his toughness in the league. Like that's one of the toughest players the NBA has ever seen. And when I was doing my research, I was like, so why do they call him the Truth, right? And apparently, it was Shaq who gave him the name, right? The Celtics played the Lakers in 2001. They lost the game, I believe, but Paul Pierce dropped 42 points, and Shaq called one of the reporters and said, come here, take this down, right? My name is Shaquille O'Neal, and Paul Pierce is the bleeping truth. Quote me on that and take nothing out. I knew he could play, but I didn't know he could play like this. Paul Pierce is the truth. So that's kind of like the genesis of how the name the truth came out. And going back to his toughness, you remember the NBA finals when he kind of like had to be carried off in a wheelchair or something?
Yo, it's funny you bring up that story, man. I don't want to tell you the real the real genesis of what happened there, bro. Do
So
you want me to
I
have?
want you to I want you to really follow up on that because I saw something around that said it might have been a lie, but just just for
Yo,
those who don't know, uh, it was the third quarter, game one, 2000 NBA 2008 NBA Finals. They were playing Kobe and the Lakers, and he had an injury, and obviously he got carted off. People thought he was done, the series was done, and then he came back. They won the game 98-88, and then overall they won the whole series. Like that's how he became an NBA champion. But apparently there's news out there that that wasn't the case, so I don't know
yeah,
what the situation is. Could you enlighten us on that?
for sure. Because there was an episode of The Jump. I know they changed the name now to NBA Today, I think. But when they used to
Yeah.
have Rachel Nichols on, I think it was Paul Pierce, Rachel Nichols, and Mark Barnes, and Paul told the truth about the story. I mean, the truth said the truth, and he was not hurt. He had to go. He had a
Oh, he
number
had
two.
to do like number two.
He had a
Damn,
number two
that's
situation.
crazy.
It's one of those things you got to take to the grave. But I mean, I love Paul for his honesty there, man. Because I mean, you
Yeah.
know, everybody's got their things going on. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's actually because when I actually like researched it, I was like, wait, what are they saying that this is actually not the situation? But
Yeah,
like
he
you
said
said,
it
Paul
himself.
Pierce, the truth telling the truth, right?
The
And
truth said the truth.
just a little bit of a known fact, you know, apparently he got stabbed 11 times in 2000,
I
right?
know about that.
On his neck and his face on his back in a nightclub. And that same year, he was the only Celtic player to play all 82 games that season. I mean, talk about toughness. The only Celtics player to play all the games that season despite getting stabbed. So that's another trait you see in a player that you just have to appreciate regardless. Like Paul Pierce, your toughness, A1, man. But I don't know about the truth. You trying to, do a number two or whatever it is, man. That's all you, bro. But my number four, Paul Pierce.
All right, all right. I think we, like I said before, I think we just flip flopped. My number four is Melo. I think the only thing that we didn't touch on is that he was a one-time scoring champion. The guy, six All NBA teams, 10 All Star appearances. Like and you said, I think Kobe Bryant, if I'm not, is it Kobe Bryant or Tony Allen? One of them, they asked who was the hardest person to guard, and they said Melo. I think Like I
Oh,
said,
so
the
he's
game.
he's good defensively.
No. The toughest person to guard. No,
Oh, to
Melo's not a
guard.
good.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah,
said who's the
I
toughest
was
person
like,
you've ever
bro,
had to guard. Oh no. Come on, man. Melo don't care about no defense.
no defense.
But Melo is incredible, man. I mean, like every level of scoring. And the thing that's amazing about Melo is when the league tried to kick him out, all he did was adjust. It's tough, man. When you're one of the greatest to ever play, one of the 75 greatest players to ever play it, for somebody to tell you, hey, come off the bench, it's difficult. We saw Allen Iverson struggle with it, and Melo was having struggles with it. I remember very vividly when he was in OKC with Russ and Paul George, and they were like, "Yo, P, they say I got to come off the bench." I remember that conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
man,
remember that.
pride, being able to swallow your pride and make that change says a lot about Melo's character. So Melo for me, number four, definitely. Hopefully he wins the championship, but regardless, Hall of Famer, a legend, absolutely. So Melo, stay Melo.
Yeah, talking about the you talked about the adjustments, right? Did he? Because I know there was a time in the league where he was not playing, and people were coming at him saying Melo's actually done, and the only team that gave him a chance was the Portland Trailblazers,
Yep.
right?
Hey,
And he signed a 10-day contract. If I don't quote me on that, but I do believe he signed a 10-day contract to prove himself. And within that time period, I think he averaged, I don't know, 16 points or 19 points. He was just amazing. But going back to your point, right? The game changed, right? But Melo had to adjust, and that's credit to him, right? Not a lot of players were able to hang in there.
it's tough, man, especially when you're so
It's
great. It's. I
yeah.
mean, he could have just bowed down and been like, "Yeah, I'm done," but he wanted. He loves basketball, and he made the adjustment. So
Yeah,
kudos to
he
Melo.
definitely don't want to. He definitely doesn't want to come off the bench.
Nah, he's doing it now though. Six man,
Yeah,
man.
he's doing it right. Like he doesn't have any choice right now. But yeah, we kind of switched. That's interesting. Paul Pierce, Carmelo Anthony. There's really not a difference, to be honest. I would have taken
Yeah,
either one at 4 or 5, but I
I have no
think
issues either way.
now it gets a
Now it's
little
about
bit
to get interesting.
it's about to get
All
dicey.
right,
So
so
um
I'm gonna go. But you know what? You could go. I mean, how'd you want to do it? Number three.
you're my guest. You're my guest. I'll give you the
All
floor.
right.
Go ahead.
Number three will be Kevin Durant,
Oh
the
boy.
Slim Reaper, easy money sniper, two-time NBA champion, two-time Final MVP, 12-time All-Star, two All-Star Game MVPs, 10 All NBA selections, Rookie of the Year, four-time scoring champion. He had a 50-40-90 season, and one of the 75 greatest players of all time. Um, you know, I think I put Kevin at number three because of the fact that I think Kevin, as an individual, when it comes to talent, I think Kevin's talent is something we've never seen before. I think ability to score the ball, as an offensive player, the guy's incredible, man. Mid range, 3 pointer. The He is like the structure you would want for an offensive, player, like scoring ability and all of that. And when he came to the Warriors, he improved his passing ability too. So I'm gonna definitely give him credit for that too. And also his rebounding and defense in general, because I think coming into the Warriors, there were there was a lot of focus more, in his game on just being able to score, but I think his game really evolved for sure. What I hold against, because now, like I said, it's nitpicking at this point. So
Uh
what I
oh.
say,
Here
what
we
I
here
hold
we go.
against Kevin, compared to the people I have ahead of him, is impact on winning. And I always, whenever I talk to my friends, I always tell them my barometer for how great you are as a player is I take into consideration your individual ability, which Kevin's individual ability is on par with almost anybody. But Kevin, as your best player, his ability to lead you to winning, uh, you know, does not pass the people that are ahead of him. Uh, it's funny because you mentioned that Kevin is on the trade block, and I see all these teams trying to move heaven and earth to get him. Or there's that's what's going on, but um, there's no there's no data that shows that Kevin, trading for him is going to bring you a championship. You know what I mean? So uh, Kevin was fortunate
I
to go to the Warriors, man. And there's a lot of players that I feel like if they're in the same position, considering the fact that the Warriors went to play the game seven with Cleveland um, back in 2 seasons, back to back seasons, and Kevin came and joined. It doesn't really show a lot of his impact on winning and his opportunities that he's had, with OKC and with Brooklyn Nets. He's pretty much come up short, and I think in OKC, for example, that team had two other top 75 players, Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Um, in Kevin's season without a top 75 player, so far he's not been able to win a playoff game. So he played against Boston Celtics, and I mean Boston went to the finals, but hey, you got to get a game, man. You got to get a game. So yeah,
so,
Kevin is number three for me.
so for me, that's a hard pill to swallow, and I do agree. In terms of positioning, I'm okay with you having him as three. I think you mentioned something about the you said having an influence on winning. Was that the
Impact to
word
win.
you used?
Impact to
Impact
win.
on winning, right, right. Impact on winning, and I so I don't. Let me not say I don't agree with that, but I look at it from a different perspective, right? Kevin Durant has had an amazing career. The numbers are there, definitely a Hall of Famer. But when we talk about impact on winning, right? Um, you started off, you talked about him being in Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Where he played with Westbrook and James Harden. And we're talking about this was a young Russell Westbrook trying to learn the game, right? And then James Harden being a sixth man on the team, right? Even though Westbrook was highly considered one of the best in the league, but you could still make the statement that he was young, right? It wasn't anything like, you know, I look at him like in today's modern day or how explosive it was. Like Westbrook was still young, right? He hadn't even had an MVP. He was always an all-star starter, right? But he was a young guy. KD won the MVP with them. And the semantics and how it looked because he played the Warriors and they lost. Now, keep in mind that team went to the NBA Finals, right? They lost to the Miami Heat with LeBron James. But when you actually do the eyeball test, right? There's five guys on the team, five players on a team, right? And each player is held accountable for the role that they're given. So in a team like basketball with five guys, if one guy is not working, you're evidently going to see that, right? If four guys are playing well on the court and one guy is playing really bad, it's going to affect the team in a bigger scale, right? So if you look at Durant's numbers and the games that he's played, I don't think Durant has always performed, right? Kevin Durant has always performed. Now, hear me out. Kevin Durant has always performed, right? But somehow I say that's why I don't agree with the impact on winning because if you're gonna say take Kevin Durant out of a team, yes, they would still win. But if you put Kevin Durant on a team, the teams he's been on, they're players who have also have impact on winning, right? He's never been in like a terrible. I mean, I would say the early days in the Seattle SuperSonics, right? They weren't really amazing back then, but he was always the winning the NBA scoring title there, I believe. But impact on winning, it's like that's a very I think a more of a harsh statement in terms of like,
I know it's
hey,
harsh, man, and I know, I
and
know, I know people, not just you. I know people love Kevin Durant. It's hard. Every time I bring this up to people, they're like, Kevin, his it's incredible to watch. He was a warrior, so I know how good he is as an individual talent. Uh, see, like not a lot of players are giving the level of talent as teammates that Kevin has had. Let's look at some. Let me just run through some players for you. Chris Paul. Chris Paul has never played with. I mean, the meat like today everybody's trying to bash Russell Westbrook, but Russell
let me
Westbrook
let
pretty much made the triple double obsolete. Like until Russell Westbrook came to the league loved triple doubles. Russell Westbrook did it so much that everybody was like, "Nah, we don't like it anymore. We don't
right,
want it
right.
anymore." So like Russell Westbrook, is an incredible player. Like contrary to what everybody, the guy is an MVP. You know, in those seasons, those playoff runs that Kevin was in, and it's funny because I see a lot of times everybody's like, "Oh, Russell Westbrook cost Kevin the chip," but that's not the case. Because if you check those finals, Kevin's numbers were great, but Russell gave you 27. Putting that in
But there's
perspective for you,
something I wanted to put out there. There's a difference between being efficient and being playing your role, right? We all know that Russell Westbrook could give you 40 points in a game, but that 40 points, when you look at what actually happened, it's not efficient. He will shoot what 12, or he'll make 12 shots out of like what 45. I'm exaggerating right now, but that's the situation with Russell Westbrook, right? It's
that's
not a situation where you see the end stat, but people who you and I, we both watch basketball. We
yeah.
know Westbrook has an efficiency issue. It's not
So
just about,
this
hey,
is
I'm just
modern.
supporting him.
This is modern Westbrook. I'm talking about older Westbrook, explosive Russell Westbrook.
You
If you
could
check those final stats,
explosive. I don't
Russell
have
Westbrook.
the numbers. I don't have the numbers with me, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
I,
know this because I'm a Russ. I'm a Russ guy. Russ was shooting. And Russ is not. I'm not going to accuse him of being the most efficient point guard of all time. But as a point guard, he was shooting what 44 to 45% from the field in that finals, which is really good for a point guard. Um,
so would you? That's why when we talk. And sorry to cut you off, but would you say that? So are you saying that Kevin Durant is responsible for the OKC losing that championship?
Absolutely. You're the man.
Why?
Why do people blame LeBron for losing finals? You're the man. Are you the man or are you not the man? You got to make up your
No.
mind.
So how I put it, because I do, to some degree I do agree with what you're saying,
Yeah, like
but how I put it is that playing your role, you're required to put a certain amount of points, and Kevin Durant played his role on that team. Now you're playing a three-headed monster with the Miami Heat, right? And these guys coming off the I believe it was the San Antonio Spurs, or no, sorry, the Dallas Mavericks, right? The first LeBron's first chip, right? You're
yeah,
playing a three-headed monster, right? In LeBron James, there's only so much you can do, and I don't agree with Kevin being the main issue. Everybody's responsible, right? You would have said it was the main issue if like there was a decision where he had to like, hey, I gotta, he had to make like the best decision, and it was so obvious. But if you look at his numbers, like I don't have them with me again, but if you look
yeah.
at his numbers, Kevin Durant played his role. But the only, and again, I say this, Durant kind of put this on himself, because the next year when they played the Golden State Warriors, they were up 3-1 and they lost the game. Now that's a
I was
Warriors
about to
special,
go into that
right?
next.
That was a Warriors special because they were that good. The Warriors were special that year, right?
But
But the
that's not only
issue
about
I
the
have,
Warriors. That's not only about if you watch those final three games, and it's funny because I love that you brought that up. Kevin's numbers in those final three games, if you check it for an efficient, see, this is the problem with being great. When you're so great, and this is why I think it's important that I mention this. Kevin is so great. I don't want people thinking like, oh, I'm saying no. Kevin is, bruh. He's one of the best to ever play. If you say he's the 20 best, one of the 20 best players to ever play, I have no arguments for you whatsoever. But right in those final three games when they needed him, he was a no show. I watched that. I'm always. I watched him collapse in that finals. But Kevin is a media darling, and that's just the truth. I mean, now, they a lot of people go out and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put it on Russ," and it's unfair to Russ, and I think that it's important that I say it
no,
as it
but
is because
if you something I wanted to say, if you talk about how, if you're really gonna just put the blame on Ross, I
I'm gonna
think
give you an example. When the
like
Warriors
Kevin
choked,
Durant in the look. So I'm looking at the stats right now. He
okay,
averaged 30 points per game in the finals, right? shooting 54% from the field goal, right? 54% from the field goal, 30 points per game, shooting 54% from
And
the
what did
field
Russ
goal.
average?
Ross had 26 or something. Yeah, Ross had 27 points per game, right? Shooting 43%. So when you say, and I'm reading it right, you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about like he didn't show up, right? When you say you got to
I didn't
do
say he
your
didn't show up.
part,
I'm talking about.
no,
I'm
you
talking
said
about.
it was a no show, right?
No, no, no. I said he
You said,
choked in the Warriors versus OKC.
oh no, I thought
I'm
you
not,
were talking about the
no, no.
Miami one.
In the Miami Heat series, I'm saying that essentially that still falls on you. If you're the best player on the team, like let me give you an
So
example.
right with your
Warriors.
point, right? If it because again, I'm trying to track time, but with your point, right? If you say that still falls on him, right? And you average 30 points shooting 54%. Come on, dog. Like there's like
Okay,
that's the kind of things that, and I'm not trying to put I'm not
let
trying
me
to
ask you a
take
question.
anything
Let me
away
ask you
from
a question.
KD, but if you average 30 points shooting 54% from the field and you
Okay,
say he's a no-show, I'm trying to wrap
I
my
didn't say
head
he's a
around
no
that.
show. I
Like,
don't know why you keep saying I said he's a no show.
so
The
you
series
said
that I
you
said
have
he
to
messed
step
up in.
up.
Wait. The series I said that he choked in is the Warriors versus OKC.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. I agree with that
But I'm
one. He
talking,
choked
if
in
you're
that
talking
one.
about the finals, I'm not saying he's a no show. No, no, no. I didn't even say he's
So
a no
would you
show.
say
But
so
I
in
said
the
that
NBA finals where he played the Miami Heat?
yes, he had
What would
enough
you say
help to
about
get it done, but
he
he
had
didn't
what?
get it done. He had enough help on his team to get it done.
He had 30
Absolutely,
points per game.
bro.
I'm
Check how many points Kevin averaged in the Warriors in the Warriors versus Cleveland in the first time we played them. He averaged 35. Right? You could do
yes,
more.
and
See, you
wait
could always if you're the best player, you could always do more. It's
wait
unfortunate, but
wait
that's how
wait
the NBA
wait
goes.
hold on. See I don't want this to be an emotional argument. So you said, and
Okay.
this is what I'm trying to reiterate what just happened. You said when he played Cleveland, he
Uh-huh.
averaged, because I'm looking at the numbers right now, I believe he averaged in the first championship, he averaged 35 points per game, but you said he
Exactly.
could do more.
No, no, I'm saying he could have done more for OKC. You're saying that what could he have done more in OKC? And I'm saying
So
when you're on the Warriors,
with a team like Steph Curry, Clay Thompson, like three Hall of Famers,
you're
right?
giving him. Wait, here's my problem. You can't give him credit for winning with the team with Steph. You just said it, so now I'm going to hold your feet to it. You said with a team like Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Iggy, he did that. So he's essentially you're agreeing with what I'm
And
saying
then
because
compared to the OKC team,
yes.
James
Now
Harden, the
let me give
bench
you a
guy.
question.
Oh my
Let's
god.
switch it up. Let's switch it up. Kawhi Leonard went to the finals. Let me give you an example. Kawhi Leonard went to the finals
Right. Right.
with Toronto Raptors, right?
Hmm.
There is nobody on the Raptors. No, not one other player on the Raptors that's on
Knowing
James
that
Harden's level.
The East Coast was not what it is. And
No, no,
remember, something I want to point out to you, right? Remember, you're a Golden State fan. We all knew that
okay.
KD and Klay Thompson went out. If those two guys were there, the Raptors wouldn't have the championship, right? Can we agree on that?
I don't make. Remember,
It out? Can you agree? Because we've had this discussion
there's a
before. So
lot
I
of
want you.
things. See, this is the reason I'm not going to say that is because there is in every single NBA championship run, I could point to something that caused that could have stopped that champion from winning. There's not one NBA champion in the history of basketball
So
that they
so
didn't have something
if
happen in their favor.
if and we've had this discussion before because now I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, but let's push that to the side. But for the interest of time, I think the KD conversation is one that's very touchy.
Yeah.
And I guess we all have our opinions. Something I know that is gonna follow KD is the switch from OKC to the Golden State. It was kind of like a backstabbing move, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think Draymond put out a podcast saying players are businessmen these days. Ever since he made that switch, he won two championships with the Warriors, but it's always followed him throughout his career. But it's an interesting conversation. At the end of his career, I just hope people appreciate him, and I'm trying not to be biased because I do, to some degree, I do see your point about him messing up in the Western Conference Final against the Golden State Warriors, being 3-1 up. He should have done better, you know. But in regards to having an winning impact, I don't agree with that. But again, we're all entitled to our opinion. So, and I do respect your opinion on that too as well. But I don't agree with that. I think Kevin Durant is on any team. His impact on winning is highly appreciated. But you want to say something? I wanted
Yeah,
to. You want to say
I was gonna
something?
say it's, you know what um is funny is I love that we just skip Brooklyn because Brooklyn has
Oh no, the
not been
Brooklyn.
great.
The Brooklyn one is that's out of the because
Yeah,
so
that's how I'm like,
I,
where's
I
the
I'll probably will put the podcast. I had a different podcast session talking about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets too as well. I'll probably post it somewhere in the description or somewhere. But I didn't even bring that up. This is more
yeah,
of
because I was like
appreciating what the players have done in their career.
over their
So
career.
I don't want to over their career because it's not fair if we don't talk about maybe LeBron's bad years or what Paul Pierce's bad years. It's not fair to Kevin Durant that we're going to talk about Brooklyn and push away all the accolades that he has achieved. So
Absolutely.
that's why I didn't even want to talk about that. But interesting conversation, man. Interesting conversation about Kevin Durant. I see you have him as number three. For my number three, is the Claw, Kawhi Leonard.
All right.
Um, this guy is an exceptional, very, very weird type of basketballer. I don't know if anyone has seen the laugh that he when he won the championship, but Kawhi Leonard, current NBA player for the LA Clippers. He got drafted in 2011 by the San Antonio Spurs, 15 overall pick, which was interesting because they had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. So you wouldn't expect Kawhi to actually, you know, make a huge impact on that team. But he then went on to win the NBA championship with the Spurs in 2014, where he was the finals MVP. The Spurs and the Miami Heat met in the finals in 2014. Game three of the series, he scored 29 points, and the Spurs went on to win the series 4-1. He averaged 17 points on 61% shooting, and he's the third youngest winner at the age of 22 of the NBA Finals MVP. So that at that age to accomplish something like that, I think that was phenomenal. He eventually went on to the Toronto Raptors in 2018 and won the NBA championship with them that season and was named the NBA Finals MVP again, just as we had a conversation about. He averaged 28 points per game and almost 10 rebounds per game. He's a five-time NBA All-Star, two-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, three-time NBA First Team, four-time All-NBA Defensive Team, four-time All-NBA Defensive Second Team, NBA Steals leader, and an NBA All-Star MVP. As we can see, a lot of prestigious accolades both on the offense and on the defense. This is someone who is special, a special player. The only knack I have with Kawhi Leonard is game time, injuries, and game time. Unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, we don't ask to be injured. But dude, man, you are the biggest load balancer I have ever seen in the in the end.
Oh
Like
man,
this guy,
oh,
this
man.
guy loves to chill, which
And,
I'm trying not to take credit away from him because when it comes to the playoffs and the big games, he actually performs. Like he actually plays the game the right way. But dude, man, you love to chill. Like I'm talking about if there was a way where Kawhi would play just 2 games out of 82, he would do it, right? The whole issue of just resting up and just not playing the regular season, I don't buy into that. I don't endorse that. That's the only issue I have in his career. But other than that, I think this guy is one of the greatest two-way players to ever play the game. Some people compare his style of play to Michael Jordan because they have that versatility. Like Kawhi started off as a defensive player and then he morphed into this offensive monster in the game. and he just does it both ways. With Kawhi. You're not gonna get when he wants to play. You're gonna feel Kawhi Leonard. So for me, number three, Kawhi Leonard, the Claw.
I mean, I love that you brought up the load management because I that is it brings a new perspective in outside of what I talked about previously. Um, I thought about that in the process, and I think that that's something that really holds Kawhi back. And I see why you put I think you have Kevin ahead of him, right? Um, it makes sense because Kawhi does miss quite a bit of games, but Kawhi is ultra talented. Unfortunately, we lost an NBA Finals to Kawhi Leonard. We're one of
Mm-hmm.
we're the victims of
Mm-hmm.
him winning his second championship.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and like I said, right? I try to do my best to be fair when it comes to giving people props for winning because winning in general it's not just about your ability to play. Things have to go in your favor. Things have to fall into place because you could be the best player ever, but if things don't fall into place, things don't work out. So Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto that year, and I just want to expatiate on that year, knowing that this is where I want to be. Right, he was trying to get to the Clippers the entire time, and he didn't pout, he didn't do all of that. He went out there and balled, and um, destiny and everything played out to lead him to that moment. And why I had to put what made me pick Kawhi over Giannis over Kevin Durant is uh, that series with Kawhi against Giannis before getting to because the finals, like you said, right, there were injuries and all that, but that series against Giannis, them being down 2-0 and coming back and taking over that series, and I when we talk about the greatest of the greatest, and I think there's a big misconception. Everybody's like, oh, like you not one man stops. You can't stop all these guys, right? But Kawhi, how much impact he had on helping um, reduce Giannis's presence in that series was incredible. Him and Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, they went they were on another level in that series. They were stopping everything and being able to conquer Giannis and get to the finals to win the chip. Um, you know, hindering but not stopping Giannis' eventual rise. That's way up there in one of the greatest performances I've seen. He's already an NBA 75, top 75 players. So I love you're picking Kawhi. I have him as my number two. Just to kind of follow up from where you went. He doesn't have the league MVP award. That's the only thing that I think he's missing from his belt. But when you talk about a well-rounded resume, offensive ability, defensive ability, starting off as a defender and turning yourself into one of the best offensive players, the last mid ranger, I would say, because his game is really predicated now in the mid range. He's really something special, man. So definitely Kawhi, he's up there. That's my number two best small forward of all time.
Kawhi Leonard, man. Kawhi Leonard, a special player, man. One of those guys where when he came into the league, it's weird because I think I talked to a friend and said this dude reminds me of Michael Jordan. Not saying like he will be Michael Jordan, but the way he played, the body stature, and everything, like you could tell that there was a vibe that this guy had that it was going to be special, and especially in the NBA Finals, so young, guarding LeBron, one of the greatest. That's a hard task to do. But
Absolutely.
yeah, Kawhi Leonard, man, that's my number three, and I think we kind of our list kind of flipped for two and three and four and five. So um, my number two, Kevin Durant. Obviously, I think this guy is a special player, and we've already had the discussion, right? Um, a lot of people have a lot of questions around Kevin Durant's career, but that does not take away the fact that this guy, within the decade that he played or the time that he played, has been one of the greatest within that era. I think you could say that within 2010 up until 2020, 10 years, I'll say about three players. You can probably slide in Kawhi in there, but three players: Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. Those guys have elevated the NBA to a different level of basketball. And excuse me, and Kevin Durant, man, he got drafted by the Seattle Supersonics, which later then changed to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Second overall pick. Um, Spent most of his years in OKC, where he won the NBA League MVP. He was a four-time scoring champion, and he averaged 32 points per game, and 32 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in his period in OKC. Moved over to the Golden State Warriors to team up with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, where he won two NBA championships and two Finals MVP. In his first championship year, he averaged 35 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. In his second championship spell, he averaged 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. After that, he then went on to the Brooklyn Nets to play with Kyrie, and from there, just everything just went down for KD. But not trying to emphasize on what didn't go well. Just appreciating the player that he is, in my own opinion. I've seen KD do some stuff that, man, you're just like, bruh, you need to chill. Like, it's like having a point guard or shooting guard in the body of a center and being able to handle the ball like that and shoot. I think KD is special, though. Again, going back to what he did in the Golden State Warriors, something I wanted to point out, I think it was when Charles Barkley made
Yeah.
that statement about the bus driver. JJ Redick came. That Chuck is a funny guy.
I
So for
love
those of you
Chuck.
who don't know, Charles Barkley, one of the well-renowned TV personality, he's a host on the NBA on TNT. He made a comment about Kevin Durant saying he's not the bus driver, and then players in the league started getting back at Chuck saying, just kind of replying him, but something stood out to me what JJ Redick said, and he was like, Kevin Durant drove the bus, right? But Steph Curry had his name on the registration of the bus, and it made total sense, right? You knew it was Steph's team. You knew Steph was the one driving that team, but they brought Durant to just get over the hump of LeBron James, in my opinion, and that's what JJ Redick said. Like that was like, there's no conversation, no need to start bringing up, hey, did he drive the bus? Did he not drive the bus? That's people's opinion. But I also don't agree with what KD said back to Chuck, where he mentioned that he basically came from an angle saying, hey, you didn't get paid like we did, so you hating on us. And I'm like, bruh, that's not what Chuck was saying.
Yeah.
Like, Chuck gets
That's
paid a lot of money. Like, it's completely out of context. Like, that's not what he was talking about, right? So I don't agree with KD on that. I think KD got a little bit emotional, but again, going back to JJ Redick's point, I think that was a very well put point, talking about, listen, man, Steph Curry, that's Steph Curry's team. Ain't no way KD's gonna do it. But you have to understand, Steve Kerr and the team, KD's the one driving the bus. So for number two, Kevin Durant. And yeah, I think coming to the
you
this
know,
is the one where we shake hands on
at this one, there's something I wanted to
the
point out about the Kawhi Leonard one. I noticed you said Kawhi got drafted by the Spurs. Fun fact: the Spurs did not draft Kawhi Leonard. They finessed the Indiana Pacers. I don't know if you remember this. So
oh
Indiana
really?
drafted. I kid you not.
Yo.
Kawhi. Indiana could have had Kawhi and Paul George. What you're seeing right now in the Clippers. Indiana had the
Oh,
15th
that
overall.
make wait,
They
so
drafted him.
okay.
And then, do you know what? The Spurs gave them George Hill in exchange for Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, come on, bro. Really?
I kid you.
Yo, I
This
didn't
is
even know that.
NBA fun fact of the day. I promise you. That is the greatest
Yo, that's
robbery.
wild, bro.
I think people don't talk about that robbery. Like that's criminal. Just like
That's
Brooklyn
criminal.
and Boston with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. with them
Jalen Brown.
trading, all the old heads to bring in the young guys today. So yeah, man,
But do you think
those are
this
some of
this
the
is this
players,
is a
man.
question? This is a good. That's actually a very good fact. But do you think because do you think he would be the same player he was? Because I think I
That's
give
a good
credit to
question.
Greg Popovich to molding Kawhi the way he was. Because in Indiana they weren't really. I mean, it wasn't really the
Hey,
best
man,
situation
bro,
there,
Paul
but
George was going
there,
at it with Ron,
Paul
man.
Paul George Paul George was going at it. You're right, but I think the player that Kawhi is today, Greg is
Is a
highly
lot
responsible for that.
for
So
sure.
that's fun fact. I like that. I had no idea, man. That's
You know,
that's a
and I
crazy
love that you
crazy
said that
stat.
because I love that you said that because obviously Pop and the Spurs system, not just being around Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, winners, Bruce Bowen, all these guys that are still part of the Spurs system, like helped mold Kawhi into who he is today. But I'm sure Paul George would have told you, man, give me that guy. I don't care about you guys molding him. Give me Kawhi right now. Let's ball. We don't
Was ball,
forget the
man.
Spurs molding him. So,
Hey,
yeah, man,
man.
that's the Indiana Pacers are not gonna live that one down. You know, that's a
Man, that's a
that was
steal
a
right
bad
there.
trade.
But all right, to number one. This guy, man. This man needs no introduction. Um, this guy right now, it's hard to put in words what this guy does, right? It's really hard to put in words how special this guy is. LeBron James.
Go
For
James.
me, it's hard to I can't I would do LeBron no justice trying to explain the stats and what he's done because his game transcends beyond his stats. If you do the eyeball test to watch what this guy does, that's where you get a feel of how great this guy was. And something that when I started watching basketball, I just thought like LeBron was just this powerhouse that just used to drive to the rim and just put it in. Nobody could stop him, basically. It was like a mix of Zion and like Giannis together. Like if Zion and Giannis had a kid, it would have been LeBron James, right? And it was like this force was could not be stopped. But then when he went to Cleveland, right? That's when I got humble. Like that's when I saw that this guy is not it's not he's not your regular basketball player. Like forget anything anybody says. When I saw what this guy did in Cleveland and what he achieved, even though it was just one championship, but man, that was special. Especially coming back from 3-1 3-1 down against the Golden State Warriors. That was special. Just to go a couple of I don't know how far I can go with this stats, but LeBron James, LA Lakers, currently an LA Laker player, 4-time NBA champion, 4-time finals MVP, 4-time league MVP, 18 NBA All-Stars. Many kids watching LeBron right now, 16 and 15, he'd been an all-star before they were born. 18 NBA All-Stars, 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 13 All NBA first team, 5 times All NBA defensive team, NBA Rookie of the Year, NBA scoring champion, NBA assist leader. Now that's cool in that, right? That's all good, right? Here's the crazy stat. He went to 8 straight NBA finals. 8 non-stop. 8 NBA straight finals. Bro, like I don't even know how to address this guy. Like
It's funny, man, because you know me, like how I personally feel about LeBron. I think he's the best to ever do it. But it's his story is so remarkable, man. I'm being able to be, humble, be part of and all of these guys are not. I'm not gonna. I don't want to go on about Broad and be like these other guys aren't doing stuff in their communities and stuff. But LeBron is pretty pronounced about his activity and all of that stuff that he has going on. So his school, I promise school, and just being able to be a model citizen. Obviously life is much more complex than what we see on TV, but at least putting up, being able to hold up representation, especially as a minority, as a black man, being able to give people that representation of what greatness could look like and how you could hold yourself accountable and continue to grow your. I think the guy is, man. The guy is that's Thanos, man, in the NBA when it comes to basketball. I've seen him, man. We've watched
Thanos in
the
a good
finals.
way, in a
Yeah,
good way.
the good
Thanos in a good
Thanos, the
way,
good Thanos. But
not snapping the fig. The good Thanos.
I love my Warriors, man. And like you said, Kevin was part of our team that we used to defeat LeBron after that 3-1 comeback, or 3-1 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And one thing about LeBron James is the guy is, the guy is just incredible, man. He's gonna do what he wants to do on the court, impact the game on all levels. Uh, we're talking about somebody that when we played that finals and we lost 3-1, LeBron led the finals in every statistical category: points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, everything. Like, he literally, that's when you talk about
Man,
domination. Like, the guy's something else, man. And being able to win the championship in three different teams, win
three
finals
different
MVP in
teams,
three
bro.
different
That's
teams,
that's
you know,
not that's
yeah.
that's
They said he
wild,
couldn't do
man.
it in the West. He came to the West and messed with the West. He came to the West and took over. I mean, of course, the Warriors were back, right? But that season, they got it done. This is part of the reasons why I don't, like when you mentioned about the whole making, like giving concessions like Kawhi about the Toronto finals and the injuries. Same thing can be said about the finals with the Warriors with Cleveland, right? With Draymond Green. But I don't make excuses for people. Like,
Right,
you have
right. You
to
can't you
play.
can't make excuses.
Exactly, right. You have to play what you're faced with, and you go off of that, right? So, or for example, this season with Boston and Milwaukee, everybody's like, "Oh, Middleton went down." I mean, Boston beat them. Like, they lost. I know, I love Giannis. Like, but I'm not gonna be here like, Boston, like, they suck. Like, they would have. Nah, like, they beat Milwaukee. Now Milwaukee has to come next season and get back to where they were. What I mean? Like, I look forward to
Yeah,
playing them in
yeah.
the finals next season. But I think that's where
Mm.
I
Is
think
that
that's
is
the
that
finals
is
we're
that a
looking.
is that a statement
That's
that I hear?
that's that's my
We
that's
got
my final
Milwaukee in the
prediction.
final.
Warriors
Okay,
Bucks,
we have an early prediction, ladies and gentlemen.
right, right off the bat.
Milwaukee Bucks against the Warriors.
Hey, that would be a classic, man. That would be too much for me to take in. I'm gonna be glued in. But yeah, man. Like we said about Braun, I mean, nothing else needs to be said. 18-time All NBA or 18-time All Star, 18-time All
Can I
NBA.
can I just can I just point out
Incredible.
something? And I appreciate you for bringing this up. You talked about the off court activities, right? With the I Promise School. I think that is a very key point that you brought up because push away the stats and what you do in the court. This guy with the things that he does is the model citizen for every black man aspires to be. Because we all know in the league we have basketball players, they make their bread and they're out, right? They do a lot, they do charity. I'm not trying to take it away from them, but there's a
Absolutely.
few folks out there who are just, they're all about their bread and that's it. But LeBron continues to inspire the younger generation and our generation to just, it's not always about self, it's about others, right? In everything that you do. So I appreciate the fact that you brought that point
Yeah.
up.
And it's so important, and I want to, I don't want us to give all heap. Like I said, right, we're gonna keep heaping. I want to, we got to point out, like, Melo has a foundation, Kevin has a
Yeah,
charitable
they all do. They all
organization.
do. Absolutely.
They're doing a lot of stuff in the community, and I and I,
They
I think
are.
that's
They are.
incredible.
They are. They are.
Um, and
Absolutely.
I think people, and I like to always stick to like what they're doing on the court, because a lot of times people when they talk about these guys, they want to talk about the negatives of what they're doing off the court, but not focusing on the positives. So if I'm going to talk about them off the court, I'm only going to talk about the positives. I don't really care for anything that they're doing,
Yep.
whatever that they like to do on their own. But the charity stuff, all the good stuff that they're doing, that's the stuff we want to point out. So
Yeah, man. But LeBron James, man, like we didn't even need to be like, oh, we already knew he's the greatest the greatest small forward to ever do it. But before we round up here, your best LeBron James moment. If
man,
there's
I
one
can't,
LeBron
man.
James,
Yeah,
just
nah,
quick. We got 30 seconds. Your best
you're
LeBron
trying to
James
finesse
moment.
me
Off
into
off the
saying
top,
some
off the
negative
top.
stuff about the Warriors, man. You got me messed up.
Hey,
Anyway,
listen, man. Hey, listen.
I'm a, I'm not gonna put us LeBron against the Miami Heat. Hey yo, I'm not gonna. Oh, ain't no way.
Hey.
Ain't no way. Nah, you know what my greatest LeBron moment of all time is? LeBron busting up the Celtics for the first time.
Mm, mm,
Funny
mm.
because Paul Pierce is super funny, man. As a media personality, and I really miss him being on ESPN because Paul Pierce was always bringing up something funny. But I remember them saying like they broke Braun, but that is huge cap, man. Because I remember
Hmm.
Braun going and taking their lunch, dropping
Nah,
52
he
at the Garden,
50,
or was it
yeah.
52 or 56?
I think it was
Yeah, that's
45. I don't think it was. I think it was 40. I mean, I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but
yeah,
you might be right. It might be 50 something, but that was a huge game. Huge game. LeBron against the Celtics.
against the
Um,
Celtics.
for me, I
I know
I,
where
I
you're
got to go
going.
back. I really don't want to say this, but man, blocked by James. Whew.
Blocked by James.
Blocked by James.
I'm
LeBron
thick.
against the Warriors. That block, it's crazy because at every player has that highlight. For him, that looks like the highlight because it epitomizes who he is offensively and defensively. How bad do you want it? So, hey, man, for me, LeBron James against the Golden State Warriors. And I think overall, there's a lot of great moments with LeBron James. If we start here, we're not going to finish. But yeah, that was an interesting list that we had there. The top 5 small forwards in the last 2 decades. I appreciate you, CY, for stopping by, talk about this. This was a great conversation, and let's keep this rolling, man. If you liked this video, hit the like button, and if you want more content, hit the subscribe button and the notification button, and we'll be pleased to give you more. Thank you. This is the Top 5 Sports Podcast. Peace.